To say that Ubisoft is in trouble would be the understatement of the year. They are facing problems across the board, and this is what happens when identity is the central focus of the projects that you're working on. Identity politics, diversity, representation, and inclusion, getting those DEI points. When that is the central focus, everything else is going to suffer. We have seen it time and time and time again, and Ubisoft is very interested in the identity politics aspect of these video games, but they're not actually interested in making games that players are interested in. And now we have Assassin's Creed Shadows being delayed until February 2025. And this is right off of the news that Ubisoft admits Star Wars Outlaws underperformed. That's right. It's bad. It's very, very bad. So you have right here over on that Park Place, and it says Ubisoft announced ahead of its upcoming investors call that it has delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows until February of 2025. The company explained, while the game is feature complete, the learnings from Star Wars Outlaws release led us to provide additional time to further polish the title. So they're already telling you that, yeah, the Star Wars Outlaw situation being a complete and total disaster, we are trying everything we can. And they're in full panic mode is what they're doing. They're in full-on panic mode. This is the release that they put out. And I commented right here, what's the magic word to get what you want? Racist. That's exactly what they're going to be doing when this game ultimately underperforms. Now, is this game going to sell a lot? 100% it's going to sell a lot. No doubt about that. It's an Assassin's Creed game, and it's going to sell a lot. So I'm not here to dispute that. But we know what the game is whenever they push an identity politics-driven video game, movie, television show, and it faces any level of criticism whatsoever. That's the plot. That's the play right there. Is like, hey, you're just racist if you don't like it. Let's see. Legacy Killer says, one thing has become clear today, and that is Ubisoft is truly freaking out and concerned that Assassin's Creed Shadows won't be a hit. Moving out of the attractive holiday season for a February release really does say a lot. Outlaws underperforming must have really scared them. 100% on that. Madam Savvy has his tweet, 2,500 to 3,000 people have worked on this game. Think about that for a minute. The pre-orders are so bad, they're now baiting people with the promise of free DLC, which was just cut content most likely. Their staff, by their own admissions, are more focused on workplace water cooler culture than their work. Poor leadership and the inability to tell people this is bad, do better, has caused the game to be a nightmare for them. This directly contradicts what they've been trying to say, that everything is fine. So this is a serious situation for them, and I think that they are trying to do everything they can to spin this. But ultimately, the failure of Star Wars Outlaws has really triggered them, and rightfully so. When I said it, then the clip of me talking about Star Wars Outlaws have been used 1,000 times to say that he's a racist and a sexist because it's completely out of context, because that's what they do. I've explained what I meant by that. But that clip where I'm talking about Star Wars Outlaws the first time that I saw the trailer, it's all about the identity politics driven nature of this stuff. My favorite game in the last decade is Metroid Dread. Guess what type of person is the lead character in Metroid Dread? That's right, a woman. And Metroid Dread is one of the best gaming experiences I've had in a long time. So no, I don't have a problem with female characters or women in video games. I have a problem with identity politics-driven video games where that is the central focus. And it was clear with Star Wars Outlaws, that was the central focus of the video game. Not to tell a good story, not to create an interesting video game with great gameplay mechanics and a good story and interesting characters to interact with. No, at the forefront of this was, hey, this is identity politics. This is a badass woman, and you have to accept that this is a badass woman, and she can do everything men can do, and so much more. That was what the presentation of Star Wars Outlaws was, because it comes from Lucasfilm, who's been on record telling us time and time again that identity and representation is the #1 focus from Lucasfilm, and the same has happened with Ubisoft. And now, of course, you have Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is another game that has identity politics at the forefront, and now this is their flagship franchise, and now they're seeing the internal data and the pre-sales, and they're looking at the fact that, as Savvy said, you got 2,500 to 3,000 people working on this game. The budget's out of control, and again, Assassin's Creed will always sell. But will it sell to the level it needs to justify the budget? And I think that that is what Ubisoft is really panicking over right now. If they lose their flagship franchise, they're going to be in serious trouble. And they're already in serious trouble. So now we're in panic mode. They're in full panic mode right now, and I'm loving every single bit of this. You get what you deserve. This has happened more times than we can count, and we're going to continue to monitor this situation and see exactly how they are going to respond. But I am prepared for the racist, sexist, misogynistic nonsense from Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows to justify why this game is not performing well and why it's not going to perform well. Again, it will sell millions and millions and millions of copies. There's no doubt about that. It's an Assassin's Creed game. It's going to have those mechanics. It's going to have that fan base, but it's not going to transcend the fan base, and it's not going to make anyone that's not just a type of person to eat it up early on, almost like The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 sold like 10 million copies, and it was all because of the momentum from The Last of Us. Last of Us 2 sold a ton of copies, but ultimately they didn't really update those sales figures after that first couple of weeks, did they? It's interesting why they didn't talk about that much. But you guys let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for checking out this video, and we will talk to you later.